Traveling to Mexico and the Caribbean during the pandemic and after January 26th CDC order. So, everyone has been asking, and I am filming this so you will know, how to travel to Mexico or the Caribbean in these times of COVID-19. On January 12th, the CDC issued an order that was to take effect on January the 26th, saying that any American returning to the U.S. by an international flight would need to get a COVID test, have proof positive that they were not affected by COVID 3 days prior to their return to the U.S. This put the all-inclusive resorts in Mexico and the Caribbean in quite an upheaval. Travelers were concerned. Airlines had to kind of work on the fly with that. And so here is what has happened. The majority of the larger resorts, I will name a few of them. We have Sandals and Beaches. As a matter of fact, I leave tomorrow for Sandals Resort in Turks and Caicos, their Beaches Resort, owned by Sandals. So I'll be also broadcasting from there. They are doing free testing. It is an antigen test, a rapid test. You do not have to get the PCR to return to the United States. Also, Charisma Resorts, they are testing you. That would be Nickelodeon, Margaritaville, El Dorado Resorts, Casitas. AM Resorts, Breathless, Now, Zoetry, Secret Streams. Those resorts also have free COVID testing for you. And AIC hotels, which are Hard Rock and Unico, among others. There are other brands, Playa Resorts also, which is, most of you would know, Hilton All-Inclusive or Hyatt Ziva Zilara. Those will also be testing you for free, a rapid test. Now, what if you have no symptoms, but your test comes up positive? The resorts thought that through as well. They will quarantine you, some up to 10 days, some up to 14 days, at their resort at no charge. Now, you will not be able to make use of the resort. You will be in your room. They will bring your food to you, and you will stay in your room. In one case, I heard at a RIU resort, RIU, that they were moving the guest every 3 days to another room rather than someone coming in and cleaning her room. That's one example. These are all unfolding as the 26th has come and go, and people are returning. And so evidently, obviously, I should say, some people will have a false positive. So you have to be able to plan for that. If that happens, you can also have a PCR test at a reduced rate or at full cost. The resorts will also arrange for that for you, but that would be out of pocket for the PCR. The rapid test or antigen test, those are being given by most all of the major resorts that I listed, particularly in Mexico, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, and now, let's go back to you're planning a trip. First of all, I sincerely hope for your sake that you're planning with a very good travel advisor, because it is a full-time job to stay on top of all of the different rules and regulations and protocols. If you want to see what destination you can go, and this applies domestic and internationally, I'm going to provide the link below. And American Airlines Sherpa, if you just type that in your Google, you'll come up with American Airlines Sherpa. You put in destination from, destination to, and the date you're traveling, and it will bring up whatever regulations there are to go to that country. And they vary. For coming back into the United States, which is the newest rule from CDC as of January 26th, as I mentioned, anyone 2 and over needs to have their negative test, proof of that with them to return to the US. So that means you have to test in another country. If you're coming from Puerto Rico, US Virgin Islands, or Hawaii, you do not have to test to come back to the US. You may, however, have to test to go there, particularly Hawaii. Now, the CDC writes 3 days. The US Embassy says 72 hours. Take that as you will. Make sure that you have your test within the 3 days. Just pointing out that little idiosyncrasy that one is saying 72 hours, one's saying 3 days. And 3 calendar days is not necessarily always 72 hours, maybe a little bit less. So, depending on when you got your time tested. Okay, now, so first thing you're going to do, you're going to go on to Sherpa, and you'll see what the requirements are. I'll give you a few examples. If you're going to Mexico, I'm talking about Greater Cancun area, Riviera Maya, that whole greater area. A lot of Puerto Morelos, and so on. Those places, those destinations, A las Mujeres also, and Playa Mujeres, those destinations are included in this free tests at the resorts. If that brand, one of the brands I mentioned, like AM Resorts or Charisma, if they had a resort in maybe Acapulco, that they may not have the testing. So you need to check again with a travel advisor. Some of the West Coast resorts, Cabo San Lucas, they do have the tests at their major resorts. Again, you need to check, and the best way to do that is with a travel advisor. Okay. I'll give you a few examples. I went to Mexico in September. I checked this morning. It's still the same. To get into Mexico, you do not need proof of negative COVID. They will ask you to fill out a health form about your symptoms. You will do that and hand it in at Customs and Immigration. Sometimes they ask, sometimes they don't. Now, when you go to come back to the US, that's where everyone 2 and over must have proof that they have tested positive 3 days prior, within 3 days of returning to the US. Mexico, the Dominican Republic, is also not requiring a test to go there, nor is Costa Rica. But I must mention that not all the resorts in Costa Rica are prepared yet to offer free testing to come back to the US. Again, plan with a travel advisor. So no test for Mexico, Dominican Republic. 10 days for Jamaica. I went to Jamaica the end of October, beginning of November, and you have to have a negative COVID test within 10 days of entering into Jamaica. And once you have that test, in any destination that requires testing, and all of these will be on the link I provide, whether or not they require testing, you will have to fill out a form of some call it a health pass, health authorization. There are many names. Each country uses a different name, but it's basically where you submit your test results and get approved to enter into their country. You must carry that documentation with you, along with proof of your test, having your name, date of birth, make sure that's all correct and it is on your form. Turks and Caicos, you need to be tested within 5 days of arriving. Jamaica is 10 days. Hawaii is, although it's in the US, again, I would always go to the website or call your travel advisor. Right now, Hawaii needs you to have a negative test 3 days prior to arrival from your last leg of your flight. So if you were going on a New York to San Francisco flight before going on to Hawaii, you would need to test most likely in San Francisco, because those test results, you may not make those 3 days. Tests are coming back 2 to 3 days now. And so if you tested in New York, your 3 days may run out before you got to Hawaii if you have a layover in California or Dallas or Houston. Okay, Antigua, they have a 7-day requirement. You must provide your test results 7 days prior. So you can see how each destination has a different form. Each destination has a different protocol. And you really need to know before you go. If, let's just check my notes here for a second, just to make sure. Okay, I'm saying negative COVID test for anyone returning to the U.S. There is an exception for that. And the exception is to present either a negative test or, here's your exception, documentation of having recovered in the past 3 months, and you need a form of attestation for that. That must say by a licensed healthcare provider or health department that you are free from COVID and you have recovered. I've heard some instances where doctors are a little bit reluctant to put in writing that their patient has recovered from COVID. I imagine there could be legal implications. So you may need to still go get another test, have your negative test with you, and fly with that. The proof of having recovered from COVID is getting to be a little bit more difficult to get. And as far as the resorts giving the tests for free, some are doing that until March 31st, some until April 15th. That doesn't mean they won't extend it. It means that's what they decided to do in the 14 days that they had from when the U.S. announced the new rule about flights flying into the United States, international flights. They really scrambled. At first, they were going to charge for tests. They hadn't thought about quarantine. And as the day went on and the following day, we were hearing, okay, we're going to offer the test for free. Well, then AM Resorts was actually the first one to do that. And so then other resorts followed. And also the same with the quarantining. People were asking, what if I have a positive test and I'm not sick? So the resorts made the rule, I'll say, for lack of thinking of a better word, the resorts made the decision that they would also allow you to quarantine at the resort. A little bit about the quarantine. Again, you'll be in your room. The food will be delivered to you. You're not going to be moving freely about the resort. You won't be at the pool or on the beach. Some of the people that I've heard that are in a resort waiting for their negative test to come through, maybe they had a false negative, and so they're actually in a resort, and the free alcohol stops, folks. They are letting you stay medically quarantined, whether you have symptoms or not, and they're letting you stay for free. In one case, it's 50%, and they are not delivering booze to your room. So just so that is clear, they are providing you with a hotel room. Some of the resorts and some of the destinations also require or provide medical insurance and emergency care. Again, that's all on the website I'll provide. You can certainly reach out to me, reach out to your travel advisor. This is a time, folks, you definitely need travel protection insurance and lots of it. I can do a whole nother video on pointers for how to do that, but I suggest the $1 million emergency medical evacuation. That is not what some of the resorts are giving for free, but it is super, super important, because if you need to hire a helicopter and charter a jet to get yourself home from Caribbean Island A to your preferred hospital, those costs are going to rack up. I don't know how many of you have chartered a private plane. Not cheap. And you're not getting on the next commercial airline. So if you wanted to be medically evacuated, if your preference was to not be in a Caribbean hospital, should you get sick while you're gone, that $1 million emergency medical evacuation is key. Okay, I could go on and on. There's so much to talk about and so much information. I can tell you that quickly, I'm going to be doing a video from Beaches Turks and Caicos tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday. And so you can check in here for that. I'll also do some on Facebook Live. And we're going to have a Zoom meeting Monday the 8th, 7 p.m. We're going to have giveaways. There will be incentives from the Sandals and Beaches brand. And that's something you won't want to miss. I'm going to put the link below in the description. And also, hey, it's a new channel. I don't like to be on video, and I can think of a million things that I don't like about seeing myself on the camera, but I have information. People want the information, and so I feel it's an obligation to go ahead and just get over myself and put the information out for you. So please be kind with your comments. That I am not meant to be on video. However, I do have the knowledge that you need for travel. So if you like what you've seen, hit subscribe. Check the little bell for notifications. And if you enjoyed it, hit the like button for us. Thank you, and happy traveling to everyone. See you soon.